Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited to be here with you. Another amazing episode of Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. And we're going to be talking about things like bliss body and, opening up to the depth of who we are and all this sort of stuff. And just, to live in that deeper space to understand ourselves at a whole nother level. And I've got our expert today is definitely going to, illuminate all of us, including me, on that. And she's got amazing things to share with you today. So you can experience more high vibes, more bliss, more love, more goodness, and every aspect of your life, I imagine. So we're going to get into that in just one moment. Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free Meditate, Make Money meditation today. Well, hello, Lillian. So glad to be here with you today.
I'm so excited to be on your show, Dan. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. So much gratitude.
Yeah, I really have been enjoying our connection. We had so a lot of my guests, we have pre-chats, and I just remember she's so chill, she's so joyful and cool, and everything's so great that you're here today. Let me tell everybody more about you. So Lillian So is an integrator and facilitator of transformation. She has more than 20 years of industry experience in creating psychological safety, group facilitation, and compassionate communication. She is the founder of SOfit SF Inc. and the So Method. She is also a passionate community builder and entrepreneur. Lillian has a BSc in Kinesiology from the University of Illinois, right here where I live, in the same state anyway, in Urbana-Champaign, and is a certified personal trainer, group fitness instructor, yoga educator and therapist, nonviolent communication facilitator, life coach, integrative healer, and mystic, and I'll tell you a whole lot more. In fact, she has dozens of certifications in fitness and various mind-body modalities, and has studied Jungian psychology at the International School of Analytical Psychology, Zurich. She has been featured in various publications and other media for her unique methods and transformation programs. In 2018, she received an award from the Korean American Community Foundation of San Francisco for creating a holistic program aimed at alleviating the mental health problems affecting Korean Americans in the Bay Area. She has this just goes on and on, this amazing stuff. I just have to share it all after all. Her signature fitness and yoga programs have helped people transform their relationship with their bodies through intentional movement, music, and community. Her coaching programs, which attract an international audience, have helped people transform every aspect of their lives through the 5 pillars of the So Method: biology, programming, inner compass, communication, and manifesting. And so today we're here to talk about So Empower, discover the 5 layers of the body to take control of your life. And Lily, I got so into it, just love sharing about you. I was going to cut that bio short, and I'm just like, no, let's keep going. So that you got so much awesome stuff to share with us.
Oh my God, I have to say, I'm always a little bit embarrassed because people always ask me to okay, share your bio. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I leave in? What do I leave out? And I'm like, okay. And then I'm always like, oh, I'll just add everything. And then if they think it's too much, I'll just let them do it. So as you were I'm just going to share it all, I was like, oh no. And then I found myself actually feeling a little embarrassed. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be that person that's and then, and then look at how great I am. And then I also do this. So
I spent here, another 2 years over there, and yeah.
So yes, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the very, very thorough introduction.
Yeah, no, it's just, you're just so much fun to interview and be with, and so I'd love to talk about. What was so fascinating to me is this idea of 5 layers of the body. So you did write a whole book on this. First of all, why did you write the book? I would love to know more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, whenever people ask me this, uh, the most honest and candid response that I can give is always that the main reason why I actually even had the idea to write a book in the first place is because it's so hard to describe what I do, as you just described what I do, right, in very great lengths. And for so many years in my career, I've just struggled so much whenever people say, oh, so what do you do? And I wish I could just be like, oh, I'm a doctor, or like, oh, I'm a writer, or I'm an accountant or whatever. But that's just never been my journey. And it's like, oh, well, I do a little bit of this and that, and then I integrate all the things. And then, all these magical things happen. And so, that's just kind of, it's just very hard to explain what I do for a living. And so, after years of kind of struggling around messaging and things like that, which I'm sure you're familiar with, you also help people with businesses and whatnot. I thought to myself, I'm like, maybe if I write a book and write in a longer format about what it is that I do, that will actually help me with my messaging. So that was kind of like where the first idea originally came from. And then as I started along that journey, I had different mentors and, with the publisher that I was working with, and my coach and whatnot. And it was through that journey and that process that they asked me, they were like, okay, well, hold on. They were like, what exactly is the first thing that your clients learn when they come to work with you? And I was like, oh, that's a great question. And I was like, well, the first thing that I teach them is that you are a whole body. You are a whole being. You have 5 layers of the body. And so that's the first lesson. And they were like, that's it? That's your book? And I was like, what? That's it? And like, they were like, what do you mean that's it? That is like everything your work is rooted in. Like, that is the first lesson. Like, yes, of course, that is absolutely where you should start. And it's just so funny, right? Like, it just never dawned on me. Here I am, like, overcomplicating, right? Because I'm in my own ego and my own head. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, how will I tell everyone how great I am? And I need to create this whole thing. And, meanwhile, a mentor from the outside looking in is just like, let's just start with the very, very first lesson. This is everything. This sets up the whole journey for your clients. Like, this is it. And I was like, oh my God, you're absolutely right. And that's how it began. And I'm just so glad that they led me down that path, because it really is. It already naturally brings so many things together just in that first book alone.
That's so great. That's so great to talk about too for the audience, that spiritual entrepreneurs that may have a lot of modalities and a very sophisticated or in-depth sort of unique way of working with people. And I'm definitely that person. Like I've always despised like the elevator speech. All right, I can do it. I can make it sound good. I can make it, oh yeah, it's good. I can do it if I want to, but I don't like it. I don't like trying to snap out that elevator speech and all that sort of
Exactly.
stuff. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm just a attention getter and all that idea, but like, I just want to be real with people and just be like, hey, this is who I am, and whatever comes through in the moment, to just share that aspect. Like, I'm kind of getting this with them right now, and be more authentic about it. But I love what you said. Like, I think this can help so many people, because it even helped me like, reaffirm it for me, or like deepen the awareness for me. Is like when you said like, well, what's the first thing you start with people? That's great business coaching. Like, what do you want to put into your lead magnet, your first thing? Like, what is that first thing you do with people? And like for me, I talk about meditate and make money. It is actually a pretty good start with me. Some people get confused with my work, because I talk about all this interconnection, everything, and then I also talk about, hey, you need to own your fire and steel as well. See, then it's confusing to people that are like, well, you're like, wait, where's the fire and steel? I didn't see that on the front page of your website. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Should I change the front page of my website? Oh my God, maybe I should. So these are all interesting questions for when we do different sort of work that's not just what looks like everything else out there. And but I love that. Like, what's that first thing? And that so much of like for me, my foundation would be, yeah, it's all about meditating and making money. It doesn't mean there's nothing else though, right? So, but like that you nailed that with the book, and now you have that. Like, I love that. Now you have that to share with the world and talk about today. So that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love that that actually inspired that, because I hear you on that. That makes sense. Like you start with the meditation and like, wait, but then where did that thing come from? And there's all the, because I'm sure you have so many different,
Right.
teachings and so many different little isms, right? Like that are like things that only things that they're like your quirks or your isms, as we like to say. So yeah, I hear that.
Right, right, right. Like it's like I've got this unique way to work with you, and for me to put it all on the front page, forget about. I don't know if I can do that. And maybe I can. Who knows? Anything's possible.
Yeah,
But anyways,
exactly.
so yeah, let's talk about these 5 layers. Though I was so fast, I'm like, Lillian, now tell me, what are these 5 layers? And I'm sure you told me a little bit about it, or a lot about it. Maybe when we talked, I don't remember all the details, but tell us about what are these 5 layers of the body? What is that all about? Is it aura? Is it chakras? Is it what
Yeah.
is? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, I definitely am into all that stuff, and I definitely talk about chakras and how they're all integrated and everything is integrated and whatnot. But let's just start with the 5 layers and kind of work our way from there. So the 5 layers of the body is actually originally uh, it's actually originally from yoga. And in yoga, if you think of yoga as, I mean, not think of it, but yoga is, to me, really, it's a science, it's a system, it's medicine, like it's a philosophy. There are so many things that yoga actually is. And ultimately, yoga teaches us how to yoke, to unite, right? Yoga literally means to yoke. It means literally to unite. And it's not just uniting the mind and the body, but it's you feeling the sense of oneness with yourself and in the world and so forth. And so yoga philosophy, yoga science, yoga medicine, however you want to describe it, teaches us that there are actually 5 koshas. In Sanskrit, it's called koshas. And koshas literally translates to 5 sheaths or layers of the body. And yoga says that in order for us to reach enlightenment or connectedness or that oneness, the whole reason why we get on the mat in the first place, that we actually need to harmonize, balance, become aware of, and take care of all 5 layers, 5 koshas, 5 sheaths of the body. And that is your physical layer, your energetic layer, your mental emotional layer, your spiritual wisdom layer, and your bliss layer or your bliss body. So oftentimes we think of ourselves just kind of in our physical meat suit, right? We look in the mirror and here's my bone and my skin, and put on a few pounds, and I'm looking a little haggard this morning. You only think about your physical self, but you are so much more than that. And for me, when I really started deepening into my own self-discovery and healing journey, which I really obviously believe everyone should be on, and I'm sure all your listeners are on as well, I started my career in fitness, and then I felt like something was missing. And so when I entered this world of yoga philosophy and yoga teachings, and I learned about the 5 koshas and the 5 layers of the body, my whole world was just blown to bits in the best way. Cause I'm like, oh my God, this is everything I always intuitively knew. I intuitively knew these things, but I didn't know that there was an actual name, an actual system, an actual framework for it. And so when I really learned about the 5 layers, I never really learned about the 5 layers in depth per se in yoga school. That's like not how we learned it, because we're learning I learned the 8 limbs of yoga. I was learning the philosophy and the and all the sutras and all the other things around that. But for me, it was like just understanding that there are these 5 layers, just even at the most basic level, made everything click for me, because it was like the wisdom of my body, my spiritual wisdom layer of my body. It's like it already had that information some way, somehow, and it was like, without even ever really learning it in a formal textbook before. And so when I learned about these 5 layers, I was like, oh my gosh, this all makes sense. Everything makes sense now. This was the missing link. Now I understand so much. And yeah, and then everything kind of started, changing for me from there. And then obviously, and now I'm helping my clients integrate their whole selves and, all the other areas of their life that they want to improve as well through it.
Yeah, that's great. So let's review that again. So we've got like the physical layer, we've got the emotional body, and like, so if you could step us through those again. Yeah.
Yes, we've got the physical body, right? Your meat suit, as I like to call it. Then you've got your energetic body. That's the second layer. So I consider that like the battery, right? It's your chi, it's your prana, it's your, your breath, it's the battery, it's your vitals, it's all the things that keeps your heart beating and all the electrical, signals moving through your body, and all the things that just kind of happen without you consciously thinking about it. That's the energetic body. And then your emotional, mental body, simplified, this is the way that I break it down inside the book, is your thoughts and feelings. We all have thoughts and feelings. We may not necessarily always be aware of them. We may not always pay attention to them, but we all have thoughts and feelings. And then your fourth layer is your wisdom, spiritual body. So to me, that is your deep wisdom, your deep inner knowing, your connection to something bigger, your intuition, and so forth. And then last but not least, your innermost layer, which is your bliss layer, or what I also like to call your heart center or your bliss center. So this is where we connect to joy, bliss, presence, all the things that make us just feel in the moment and grateful and happy. And, I feel like, to me, like, what is the point of life if you aren't having fun and you're not connected to that bliss? But then unfortunately, so many of us kind of lose sight of that, right? And we lose touch with our bliss center, and then all the other layers start to fall apart from there, which is obviously something we can talk about as well.
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing with the bliss layer, the bliss body, and all that stuff is that even when we're being like I've had some challenges recently and whatnot, and and what brings me into the bliss could be yoga, but like also like just turn on some dance music, all of a sudden, like, wow, within a few minutes or less, like, wow, I'm not really thinking about what's been challenged me psychologically right now. I'm just having fun dancing, right? Like we can bust right through all that right away with a little dancing, a little song. I mean, like, oh my God, it's all the end of the world. This thing, like, that we could get in that place, right? Or this is so bad, or whatever the idea is. Like, we do this little thing, whatever the thing is that works for us, right? We have different tools. I imagine that you would teach people too, like, but whatever it is, like, you could, whoa, no, I'm fine right now. Like, I feel really good. I've reawoken and I feel the bliss. And like, that's the cool thing about yoga too, right? I just remember so many times, like, it just doesn't matter what's going on in your life. It's possible anyway, just like through that one session of yoga. And when you're done, you're just like, oh, I'm at peace with the world right now, at least. So in that moment. So I love that you talk about it in that way. I don't think I've heard anybody else talk about it in that way. Like there's this bliss layer or this bliss body, or
Yeah, well, I always think about how so many of us, we always hear about like, oh, I'm in the 9 to 5 grind, and then I'm like living for the weekend, and I can't wait to get to the weekend so that I can, relax or have fun or whatever. Or I have so many clients that come to me where they, burn themselves out until they get to a vacation, and then they can enjoy themselves, or or a lot of times they'll talk about how, oh, I feel like, whenever I'm on vacation, all of a sudden, I'm talking to strangers and I'm just glowing, and I just start attracting, people into my life and this and that. And then they often think that it's because they're on vacation, and that somehow they need to find a way to just be on vacation all the time, right? But that's actually not what it is, right? What it is that you're finally giving yourself the space to access your bliss body, your bliss center, or your heart center. And so when you are in that energy, when you are in that vibration, you naturally feel more alive. People are more attracted to you, things just want to come your way, and so forth. And so rather than thinking like, oh, bliss is something that I have to earn, or something that I have to wait for, or it's something that I can only get when I'm on vacation, we have to really understand that bliss is something that we need to take care of every day, just like we take care of our physical body every day, just like we take care of our mental health every day, just like we take care of our energy every day. Bliss is the same way, right? And so I love what you said about just turning on dance music. It's exactly that, right? Like I told my clients a while ago, I'm like, hey, fun fact, did you know that you should actually have fun every single day. Like you should actually feel connected to that every single day in some way, shape, or form, even if it's for 5 minutes. Go and play with your dog and just be really silly and goofy, or just smile at a stranger, put on a song and just dance and shake your butt for 5 minutes, and just roll around on the floor and just laugh at yourself. I mean, this is so, so important. And I think a lot of times we think that, oh, bliss, like when am I going to get time for that? I'm so busy right now. I'm only going to get that when I go on vacation. And I'm like, oh my God, that mindset, that belief system alone is exactly the reason why so many of us are suffering.
Right, exactly. I mean, just to do the silly, fun things we want to do. I know we all talk about, well, do your passion, the thing that brings you joy naturally and everything. And that's true. But even that has, even as much as you enjoy it, there's things that come with that, even sometimes that can become heavy, and we got to get out of the business mode, and we need to do other things, that call to us, that bring us into that state, right? And a lot of times we don't allow ourselves that permission, because it just seems like it's progressive. When I think about when we're little kids, like most little kids do, they play a lot, or play plenty, even when they go to school. After, oh, we're gonna play after school for sure, and they play at school, even like they let the kids even play at school when they're younger. Oh, once you get a certain age, we don't need it. Oh, yeah, just study, no more. We don't need to play as much now, right? Now you're getting grown up. You better get ready for 8th grade. Get ready for freshman year. It's going to be hard. It's going to be bad. And they tell my kids this stuff, and they're like, we're so tired. Middle school is going to be badass. High school is going to be badass. They tell us like almost every single day. And we're like,
oh my God,
how's this helping us? You're just stressing the hell out of us.
Oh my gosh, I know. And it's like they instill that stress so early on. I mean, this is actually, to go off on a little bit of a tangent, I'm Korean American. I was not born and raised in Korea, the motherland. Thank goodness, because they put so much pressure on them from such a young age. This is, Korea has probably one of the highest, if not the highest, suicide rate in the world. Not to like take a left turn and get so dark all of a sudden, but the reason why I'm bringing this up is because they get so much of this pressure from such a young age about like ranking and your grades, and like you're already stressing about college and what you're going to do for a living by the time, you've barely even hit puberty, and they instill this fear and the stress in you, and they're just like, they're studying until it's late into the night. And oh my gosh. And I just think like from an inner child perspective, right? Like you're talking about children. I'm like, oh my gosh, like they don't get to play. Like that's so sad, and it's like, oh my goodness. Like, I just can't even imagine if I grew up in that environment. I just think I would have I already went through my emo phase when I was in high school, but I can't imagine how much worse it would have been if I was in that kind of environment, because it's just, they just instill that from such an early age. So it's wild to hear that, you're even experiencing that even with, your kids too, in the States here.
Oh yeah. And we encourage them to do well in life and all that, and to achieve and all that sort of thing. But at the same time, we're always trying to counterbalance the idea, like, hey, chill out. And even with us doing it, like, they still tend to want to do more a lot of times, or sometimes a lot of times, because they're like, they start seeing like what other people are doing, everything like, oh, I gotta keep, it's almost like I keep up, or part of me likes it, and this sort of thing. And yeah, it's gets to be this whole game. And then what happens is, even with them, like, but just in general, people crash and burn then, eventually it's like, oh, I can't, now I got to take 2 days off, or whatever, I'm sick, or whatever the case is. And the thing is like, when we look at people are very successful too, like, yeah, there's all different models. There's people that maybe look like they're slaving away, and there's definitely those people. But also there's people who, like, I don't know, like Richard Branson, and, look at him, he's looking to like, what adventure are we doing today? We're going to go out and go out on the ocean and do surfing, or whatever all he does. I don't know all the different things. I don't remember, but like, I just remember, like, he's like, yeah, do all kinds of mountain climbing, tennis, whatever. Like, he's constantly playing with his childlike self, and I'm sure he gets incredible inspiration and fuel.
My God,
allows everything else. All right.
I think I read somewhere like a while ago, and I mean, I'm sure it's always changing and evolving for someone like Richard Branson, but I think I read, in one article, I think I read that he, like literally just like plays for like 4 hours a day, like on the water, like kite surfing and just, water skiing, and just like, that's like his form of exercise. And he does like at least like 4 hours a day. And when I read that, I was like, I wasn't shocked. I was just like, yeah, that sounds about right to me. I'm like, that sounds exactly what a billionaire like him would do. I feel like they go together, as a matter of fact. I feel like I feel like the lack of bliss that I experience in my days is correlated, like it parallels, just even the amount of abundance that I have in my life. I really feel like they go together, so it's like, oh yeah, of course he plays that much. And I'm sure that is also what actually helps him, bring more abundance into his life, because he's in that vibration and he's in that energy.
That's so true. Like when I think about my business this year so far, and I don't know when this podcast will air as far as what I'm talking about. Like when I start off the year, first month, really fun, really joyful. Second month, not as fun. It was like, oh, it's horrible. But it wasn't as fun, not as successful, not as much cash, right?
Oh,
Yeah, it's huge. It's like, and it makes me think when you say it, I'm like, I was talking about growing up. What if we, the idea, what if we never grew up? What if that actually is the highest thing for us, right?
absolutely. Oh my goodness. My partner and I, he came on board to come work full time with me last summer. And there was so much work we had to do once he came on board. And, there were all these holes we had to fix and whatnot. And I remember it was like, at one point, I think it was maybe around August, it was like a few months in, and we would, after we had hit a lot of different uh, walls and speed bumps after speed. And it was just, there was like a lot of pressure that was starting to happen. And he finally, I remember we were going back and forth on messages, and I was asking for him for this and that. And we were both getting pulled in all these different directions. And he just kind of put a stop on me. And he's like, I hate working like this, in all caps. And, and he very rarely, like, we're both so chill, for the most part, we're very much like, we work very independently, like we're great, And so that day when he messaged me and he was like, I hate, in all caps, working like this. He's like, I'm not having fun anymore. That shook me, because I was like, oh my God. And I paused and I was like, he's right. I was like, we're not having fun right now. And at that moment, I literally shut everything down. I was like, all right, put a pause on everything. None of these projects are that important. We need to stop some of these things that aren't working. Rather than trying to keep fixing the thing that isn't working, let's just stop it all. Just shut down the operation altogether. I was like, we can't go on like this. We're going to completely sabotage the entire business if we keep going at this rate. And for what? At that point, if we're not even having fun, what is even the point? And that was such a huge turning point for us. Thank goodness, only a few months after he came on board. And I think that's a testament to how strong our relationship is, thank goodness. But that was such a huge turning point for us, because it was like, yeah, you're right. Like, why are we working like this? What is the point? The whole point of my partner coming into the business with me is so that we could expand our fun, so that we could actually have more fun together, so that we can co-design the life that we always imagined, even more so that we can keep playing, right? And like, just, like almost like a reverting more to our childlike selves, because now we have more resources or more time or whatever to be able to, play and whatnot. So yeah, all that is so big. So I love that you also, saw that even with your podcast, just even in the last 2 months. I just think that is just so cool.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we saw a spike, I mean, in the podcast, but in my business too. It's funny that you said the podcast. I have to go back and double check the numbers, but I forget where it happened, but somewhere earlier this year, like, there's the physical reasons to say, oh, well, this is the reason why it spiked, but we saw a spike for a while that I maybe never seen before in the podcast listenership at some point. And, it's so connected. I've been at this for a while, and it's like, that's so true. Like, the higher the vibe, the more success that there's going to be, especially for people that are more sensitive and empathic, which is a lot of the audience. Maybe some other people can grow their businesses and be miserable and, grow, have a lot of money, but it's not going to be sustainable. It's a lot of, anyway, but let's get back to this is our favorite layer, right? Oh, bliss, let's talk bliss the whole time.
Of course, everybody wants to talk about bliss, and it really is in many ways, honestly, Dan, in many ways, bliss is of course, it's important to take care of the body at all layers, but like the bliss is so essential because to me, like that's the heart center, like that's the soul. Without that, you have nothing. And this is really why I do believe, like you said, like why so many of us, we lose touch with that, right? And it's like, and then we all have to grow up and get all serious and whatever. And I think, and then we just end up in the grind where we're just waiting for a vacation to have a week of bliss. And it's like, no, like that's why we're all so sick and why we're all hurting and suffering. And it's like, and I think we get so far removed and so disconnected from our bliss, which is why then it affects our own intuition and like following, our own kind of inner guidance of how we should be doing things. We start listening to what other people tell us to do, instead of what our heart wants. And then we stop playing and stop having fun. So then we start getting in our heads and start feeling all paranoid, and we overthink things and become perfectionists and start having anxiety. And then because we're not having bliss, then we start getting depleted because we're putting all of our energy into things that don't matter. And then eventually our body falls apart and our hair is falling out and we're putting on weight and all of that. So yeah, I mean, while bliss is everyone's favorite layer, I think it's also in some ways, one of the most important layers. Of course, they're all important, equally important, but this is the ripple effect of what happens when you don't take care of the bliss. Everything else falls apart as a side effect. So yes, very, very important.
It's a good point. Yeah, I mean, your health is better when you have more bliss.
Yeah.
Your finances are going to be better in that, even if the quantity is regardless of the quantity, you're going to be happier financially. You're going to be and likely to attract more money overall, right? So you want to attract it from that rather than the low vibe,
Right.
And yeah, I mean, we could just go through all of it. Relationships obviously are going to go better. You're going to bring everybody into a higher vibe, right?
Yeah.
Especially when my vibe is higher, right? People want to be with me more. Like they're like, oh my God, you're the joy guy. Like, I mean, there's people literally know me as you're the joyful guy, and that's how I'm known to those people. And they're just, everybody wants in on that, right? It's very magnetic. It's very magnetic. So
I love it. The joy guy. I've actually never heard that before, but I love it. It's like, oh yeah, he's the joy guy. And it's like, oh wait, I want some of that. Like, I want to hang out with the joy guy. Like, who wouldn't, it's who says like, oh, I want to hang out with that Eeyore guy, that guy who goes in the dumps.
in my life. Yeah, right.
I need an Eeyore in my life. I'm going to go hang out with that guy instead. I really want to feel like crap for a day. It's like, no one says that.
Unfortunately, I think people do pick that, but if they were to,
I know, yeah, you are right.
Better off, right?
Exactly. Yes.
So let's talk more about these 5 layers and how you help people. So you have a very, unique way. I mean, people people talk about most of these layers already, except I haven't heard of the bliss thing before. But how do you work with these layers with people, and how is it a lot different than how others might work with, these various layers of our being?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So this is now where I'm going to just talk about it in the context of what I do with my clients and my programs, or whatever you want to call it, right? So in the same way that when I started this book journey, they asked me, so what's the first thing you teach your people? And I was like, the 5 layers of the body. Then I would say, what comes after that? And then I would say what comes after that is now taking care of one of those layers one by one by one by one. And so for me personally, the whole thing about me is that I'm a one-stop shop, right? Like I started my career in fitness. I'm, a personal trainer, a group fitness instructor. I'm a life coach. I'm a therapist. I'm a healer. I'm all these things.
Yoga, everything.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so now through my experience of what I've been trained to do and what I've been doing with my clients and whatnot, I literally teach people how to take care of each one of these layers of their body while doing the work inside of my programs, inside of my containers. And so the first, and we do that using what I call the So method. So we take care of all 5 layers of the body by implementing the So method. And the So method is made up of 5 pillars. So I just want to go slow because I know it can get a little confusing. So basically, in a nutshell, I teach people how to take care of the 5 layers of their body by mastering the 5 pillars of the So method. And the 5 pillars of the So method is biology, right? And the reason for that is because biology always wins. While we are 5-layer beings, we are also biological beings. At the end of the day, if you don't eat for long enough, if you don't get enough water, if you don't take care of your body, like, you will fall apart and die. So you have to literally take care of your biology. You have to take care of your health and fitness. You have to eat right. You got to sleep. You have to be aware of how to take care of your body. That's the biology pillar. That's where we obviously take care of your physical body. But the reality is, when you take care of your biology, that also naturally ripples into your energy. It naturally changes your mood. It naturally makes you more in tune and have more faith and trust in life. And you're also able to have more fun when you take care of your biology. When you take care of your physical body, when you're healthy, you also have more fun. Like, you can't run around with your kids and enjoy like a day on the beach and make those memories and have that bliss with your kids if you're laid out in bed because of an illness, right? So biology is the first pillar, and each pillar obviously kind of naturally helps you ripple into all the other pillars. The second pillar is the programming pillar. The programming pillar is because, as you and I both know, as we all know, we've all been conditioned. We've all been conditioned from a young age, from what we learned from our parents, society, TV, our teachers, and so forth. And so by working on our programming, we are also then able to take care of our mental, emotional body. And then we work on the third pillar, which is our inner compass pillar. And this is where you develop self-love and self-trust, and where we start to break our patterns of codependency and people-pleasing and things like that. And that's really how we start to take care of our energy and our wisdom spiritual body as well. And then the fourth pillar is communication, which also obviously naturally helps us with our energy and our mental, emotional body and so forth. And then finally, the manifesting pillar, which also helps us now tap into our bliss, right? Because manifesting and bliss, they go together. So as I teach my clients how to manifest, they're also learning how to call in the things that bring them joy, right? It's like, how do I, right? Like, okay, I know that if I have more money, I'll be happier. I know that if I move into a bigger home, I'll be happier. I know that if I make a cross-country move that I've been wanting to do for the last decade of my life, I'll be happier. How do I do that though? How do I actually manifest that? How do I actually make that happen? So that's the how part. The how is the So method. So, or you can also read the book, and that's kind of a little bit more of a beginner's guide, right? Step by step. But, that's kind of the longer, more in-depth answer to, how do I teach my clients how to actually take care of their 5 layers?
Mm-hmm.
I know that was a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. I'm like, boy, let's maybe take a half a step back and really dive into some of these areas. And yeah, I mean, there's no denying, like, yeah, when I'm eating I eat mean, I'm not the perfect with my diet and all that sort of stuff, but there's no doubting when I'm eating cleaner that I'm going to feel better overall. Now, I will say this: if my vibration is high, I could probably eat just about anything, and I probably still feel pretty good or really good. Like, it might be still bring the vibe down, but it probably still feel pretty good, right? Because that's what I've noticed.
Right.
I'm having a good time. I can eat this, and I'm feeling good. But if you're in between or you're low vibe, you start eating all that crap, all of a sudden you feel way crappier, right? So you really notice it. It's like one of those things, you really notice it if you're not at a really high vibe already. So definitely that's key to do that. Now, do you prescribe a certain, is it based on like what brings them joy, or how do you help you? Do you help people navigate nutrition and all that sort of stuff as well?
Yeah, I do help people navigate their nutrition. And, I teach the nutrition part, pretty simple. Like, I don't tell people exactly what to eat, right? Because people already come into me with, I really believe that especially when it comes to nutrition, every body is made so differently. Some people are, reactive to dairy. Some people don't like to eat meat. Some people just literally have, preferences, religious preferences, and so forth. And so I don't really put people on a very strict diet or tell people exactly what to eat, but instead, I teach them the high level things that are really important, just in terms of like hydration, making sure that you have proteins and fats at every meal, making sure that you don't skip meals. And then I teach people how, the basics, right? Like hey, did you know that you actually need to eat protein and fat at every meal? A lot of people don't do that, right? A lot of times people will only eat like, a salad and a piece of bread for lunch or something. And it's like, that's not enough nutrition, believe it or not. You actually need some healthy fats. You actually need some protein. Like, how else are you going to get that brain firing and that body moving, And so, those are some of the basics that I teach. And then beyond that, I really try to teach my clients how to, once again, trust the wisdom of the body. Right? Everybody has a body that is deeply steeped with so much intuition and wisdom. Yeah. And your body knows when it feels depleted. Your body knows when it needs more meat. Your body knows what it needs when it just wants, simple carbs because you've been drained, and sick, and your digestive system isn't able to process a bunch of roughage right now. So those are kind of the ways that I teach my clients around, that department in particular.
I'm guessing a lot of people like myself overcomplicate this stuff. Like I have, I just had a realization as you're talking. I'm like, I watch tons of videos at times on nutrition. Oh, okay. Well, our latest theory about broccoli is blah, 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 blah. And then, I could later, I could look up other videos and I'll have different opinions. Well, broccoli really isn't that good for you. You should really eat kale. And someone else says kale, so that's so low vibe. You should be eating rutabagas or something. I don't know, like they all actually there's poison in kale or something. Or I'm not saying literally, like just to give you an idea, like that. These all kinds of ideas out there. The funny thing is studies show that people, it could be their genes in part, right? It's a confounding variable maybe, but people who live the longest don't really think about what they eat. That's interesting. Maybe they're eating a little more instinctual, but they don't really care. They just eat what they want. And, and the people that are most concerned about what they're eating actually have poorer outcomes with their health, is what certain studies have shown. So I think that's fascinating, because I do tend to overcomplicate it in my mind, not maybe always in my practice, but in my mind. I'm like, well, I don't know if that rice cake, they say rice cakes are really bad for you. Maybe I shouldn't be eating rice cakes, but like, I feel like a rice cake. And then if I don't feel like one, I'm not eating one, right? Like, I think like there is a differentiator. This is where I wanted to ask you as it relates to diet or anything else, because with anything else, any other pattern, habit, and work, relationships, or exercise, or whatever it is, there's these different parts of our being, right? There's a part of the programming you talked about. Programming says, this is what's good for you. You should eat this. These are the tasks you should be focused on in your business. All these strict rules, and yet there's a natural connection, a deeper connection that's telling you to do this, do that. But then there's also, and I'm kind of going on here, but there's also like the feel good stuff that really, it seems like it feels good, but like it's not necessarily so good for you. Like, man, I love just guzzling pop all day and everything. I feel like crap, but I love guzzling. It's I'm in my bliss sphere. I'm guzzling this Coke all day, right? And the truth is it's not so joyful when you really are honest about it. Oh, my body even seemed to want it, right? I got the feeling for it or whatever from your addictive stuff. So I think like it's kind of like it's complicated to people's heads, but like the best way I could put it, maybe you could put it in a even way better way than me, but like, what's your deeper wisdom though? What's your deeper wisdom? Don't overcomplicate, don't overthink it. What's your deeper wisdom telling? Where's it? You don't have to not getting it right or wrong, but what's your deeper wisdom kind of guiding you towards right now? Hopefully towards joy and bliss, right? But what feels right, feels aligned, feels nourishing, feels good for you right now. Where's that guiding you? And just to let that be enough. We don't let it be enough. Instead, we're constantly going through people like me and you, because you're recovering from it too, right? And to you're whatever level you're at, but like we're all recovering. Like you got to do this, aholics, and So how do you help people with that? How do you help people navigate like just trusting their intuition more? I know it's getting in the bliss body, right? But like tell us more about how you help people with that when we have so many rules and so much information coming, telling us do this is right, wear a mask, get a shot, don't get a mask, don't get a shot, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the simple answer to that is as I have them slow down, simplify, and strip it down to the basics in the beginning, especially in the beginning, because they're already the reason why so many people come to me the way that they are, right? Burned out, anxious, overweight, like feeling lost, feeling stuck, whatever that is, right? Like not, not satisfied with where they're at, feeling empty, whatever it is, right? Whatever ailment it is. To me, I really feel like it's because they're actually overloaded. They're overloaded, they're overstimulated, they're over distracted, they're over medicated, whether it's literal medication or coping mechanism medication, however you want to look at it. Everything is, and they're overworked, they're overextended, they haven't been setting boundaries, they're over everything, right? They're over drinking, they're overeating, whatever that is in many ways. And in some ways they might be also, under eating and whatnot. But either way, to me, it's like very like extremes. And so most of my clients, my client in particular, they're overachievers, literally. They're high achievers and overachievers. So they're already overdone by the time they come to me. And so the first thing I do is literally I have to beg them to slow down and slow down and slow down. I mean, and they will, and they go through withdrawal. They go through withdrawal when they come to me because they're like, I don't feel like I'm doing enough. I don't feel like this is moving fast enough. I want my breakthrough. I want my breakthrough. And it's like, you're not going to get your breakthrough if you keep looking for your breakthrough. You have to just slow down and trust the process. You have to slow down and create room for your intuition to come through. You have to slow down and create room for your nervous system to calm down, for all of that over programming that's been done, all of that noise that's been telling you you're not doing enough or whatever that is, that never ending to-do list. You actually have to bring that all down. And that freaks people out because they literally have a sense of withdrawal and they start to feel anxiety, right? Because they're having withdrawal from not having enough stress. It's like withdrawal from stress, right? And it's like, and this is like a very, very real thing. And so slow down. And you got to strip it down to basics, literally focusing on, and this sounds really silly, but it's like, when my clients are spiraling out, I will message them. And these are grown ass adults with very successful careers. And I'll be like, have you eaten breakfast today? When was the last time you worked out? Okay. Have you meditated yet? When's the last time you did gratitude practice? And 9 times out of 10, they'll be like, I just had a banana and coffee. All I've had so far today is coffee. I'm like, it's 1 o'clock. No wonder you're a basket case. And you're sending me a flurry of messages, freaking the heck out. I'm like, go eat lunch and come back to me in 30 minutes or an hour, right? Or literally 9 times out of 10, I'll be like, when's the last time you got in your body? Like I went for a walk over the weekend. I'm like, I'm not talking about that. I'm like, when's the last time you got in your body and you broke a sweat and you were in it? And they'll be like, oh, last Wednesday. I'm like, come to a workout tonight, take a hot shower, eat dinner, go to bed, call me in the morning. 9.9 times out of 10, they'll be like, oh, I feel human again. I'm back to normal. And then, okay, great. Now that you're back to a proper baseline, now how can I help you? Then we can go into some other bigger ticket items, right? And then start to plan and strategize about what you want to do with your career and your life and family and relationships and whatnot. But that's really where we need to start. And I think because we're such overcomplicators and we're overthinkers and we're overachievers, we don't, in a sense, want to believe that it really is that simple.
Right. Isn't that the one of like kind of the number one thing sort of is like, we just don't think it's that simple. And so when we don't believe that, we keep making it so complicated. And I love what you're sharing about with, I love that. I might start using that with my clients, quite frankly, like, like, hey, have you done this? Have you done that? I like that. That's very instructive, I think, for the whole coaching healing world out there is maybe we can train our clients in self-care. Hey, even taking care of yourself first, like, hey, do these things, as a suggestion. I mean, I remember, Joel Osteen, I've told this story before, but like he says, yeah, some people are thinking like the demons are taking them over, but they're starting their day off with pancakes. And, the minute they quit eating just pancakes for breakfast, all of a sudden the demons aren't taking them over anymore, right? Like, they're not, they're not having that whole issue with their nutrition. And so I think that's so true, because when we're in that lower energy state and we're not connected, then the pain body, the imaginary mind, whatever you want to call it, right? It's like, oh, we got lots of problems. Let's talk about the problems. And remember when I was 3, remember when you were 10, and then this one, like, it's got like, it's like all this ammunition it's got now. Whereas when we're in good state, it's like, yeah, I've got some stuff going on. Yeah, let's talk about it. Yeah, let's talk about it still, though. Like the whole different ball game. It's so much easier to work through the actual issues than just the fact that you're not taking care of yourself and you're not in a higher vibe, is what I'm getting from you. And that is so brilliant. That's so brilliant.
Yep, I know. I just I think yeah, I'm just laughing because we have a running joke inside of our community that like we're all just adult babies, right? We're all just adult babies just being reminded to drink water and go to bed on time.
Right. Isn't it funny? That's
So,
so true. That's so true. I love that. And it's the second time I heard the baby analogy before. I had somebody interviewed for something else today, and he said, do we expect babies to know how to design planes?
right.
Like, in other words, like, hey, we got a journey to take. You got to start somewhere, and let's start with the basics. Are you actually getting nutrition? Are you actually like doing the basics of life? Like, are you taking care of those things first? Then we could talk about all this other stuff you want to get into. Well, let's take care of the foundation, the basics first. Then we could look at all the rest. That's what I'm hearing anyway from you. Is like part of your approach.
Yep, absolutely. And then like, because I mean, it's just like anything, right? Like it's like the foundation of a building, right? You can't like start to build a house or a skyscraper nonetheless if you don't have a proper foundation. And so you are the same way. Like if you want to be an empire, everyone talks about like, oh, I want to build an empire. I want to be a mogul. And it's like, well, an empire sounds like a really, really big thing, right? Like that sounds like a really big and tall thing, an empire, right? It's like, how are you going to build that on sand? Like you literally have to lay down the basic foundation. And then from there, you can start to put these beams up and these pillars, and we are no different. And I think we're so eager to, put the cart before the horse, I guess that's the saying, right? And it's like, we just need to master those basics, because once those basics are mastered, everything else honestly is such a piece of cake after that. It really, really is, because it's like you have everything you already have everything you need from a very basic perspective. So then everything after that is just like fun, play, bonus, achievement, and so forth. So
yeah. Sometimes I am blown away by how easy it is. Like I'm like, my mind will peak up, right? Because I was, indoctrinated with the same ideas. Hard work, yes, we get it done. And I have to just laugh when I hear the voice come up. But part of me does, well, oh my God, maybe I'm not working hard enough. And I get so lazy, and I just do all this self-care, and I'm meditating all the time, and or whatever it is, the different things I do. And I'm like, I'm taking like 2 hours for lunch every day, and I probably should only do it in like 20 minutes. I could get so much more done that way, and all this stuff. And it's like, oh my God, it's crazy talk. It's just crazy talk. I know. I was talking about this coach, Phil Jackson, from, most people know him, but anyway, he was a very successful coach. He'd spend like 2-3 hours every meal, like, not during the season maybe, but like, on the off season for sure. But he spent all this time, taking care of doing these meals, cooking and everything. And it puts you in that deeper connection, whatever it is that you do that takes care of you. And that's where the magic happens. So I can't see how much I appreciate this conversation we're having today, Lillian. And I know that you have so much more to share, and we're running out of time. I would love for you to let people know where they could go ahead and learn more about your book and your programs and all that good stuff. So
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, I love that you mentioned Phil Jackson because, obviously I'm from Chicago too. So I grew up with the Bulls. And so as soon as you said Phil Jackson, you're like, oh, most people, I'm like, of course, Phil Jackson. Hello. It's like the dream team. So I love that. And I never actually heard that about Phil Jackson either. So I love that. I'm like, oh, of course. I love that he just took his time and, did all that. It's like the most cooking for yourself, food, nourishment. That is like such an ultimate act of self-love and self-care. So that's really cool. I learned something new today. I love
with
that.
meditation, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. So, if anyone's interested in picking up my book, obviously you can find it on Amazon. It's easily available, on the internet. The book is called So Empowered, 2 words. So you can just search for So Empowered, or you can search under my name on Amazon. Honestly, a lot of times I just end the podcast and say, you can just search me in the Google, right? Put in Lillian So, all of my sites will come up, from YouTube channels to websites and whatnot.
Where we're going to find Lillian? Oh my God. Well,
yeah, exactly.
Google, right?
Exactly. It's like, it's almost easier than giving you a website, actually, because it's like, I just literally type in my name, Lillian. So luckily there aren't too many of us. I literally, I think there's maybe, if you search Lillian So on the internet, I think all the stuff that comes up is my stuff. And I think there might be another one like in Australia or something like that. So that's the easy way to do it. Otherwise, you can also visit my sites at, you can pick up my book at soempoweredbook.com. But the website that I would recommend that you head over to is thesomethod.com, thesomethod.com. If for whatever reason you have issues accessing that, then you can go to meetlillianso.com. So come meet me, meetlillianso.com. You can find everything that you need there, and we'll redirect you to all the things. And, if you shoot an email or whatever, all that comes directly to me, not like a robot, info site or anything like that. It's just all to me. So I'd love to hear from you. And, I'm very, very involved with, all of the people that reach out to me. So yeah, please reach out, find me on the internet, and, ask me anything.
Awesome. Well, this has been very, very cool. And so as we're wrapping up, what I'd like to do is to just take a moment to tune into my guests, do a little energy scanning, just see what downloads I get for you. Anything Source has to share could have to do with just overall with your work, or could have to do with your energy, your chakras, who knows? I just tune in and share what comes through, like 3 things. So are you prepared to receive, Lillian?
Oh my God, this is so exciting. I've never ended a podcast like this before. So what do I have to do? Do I like just sit here and close my eyes?
Very good. No, you could just sit there and just take it in.
Okay.
If you want.
Okay, great.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and share with you in a moment. So let me tune in. Pointing me to the inner child stuff, like you're again, you're the level you are at, right, of this unleashed inner child thing. But I just get this feeling like, and I know you're already doing it, but like maybe there's even another level of it, but at some point, but like this unleashing that inner child and like other people. Let me tune into that more. I don't know. For some reason, it seems like it's on the women's side a little bit more, or a lot more, maybe. Like I get, it could be men too, but like I just get, that's what they're telling me, women and children and this sort of thing. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah, because with the high achieving, right? It's like, yeah, you got to get them young sometimes with their high achieving. Otherwise, they get all those patterns built up. All right, let's see what else is coming through. Well, they're showing me that you're very analytical, but that you're very big on the channeling too. That I'm getting encouragement for you to be even more of a channel, and I don't know if it has to be literal channeling, but getting more in your channel and channeling answers and information and energy. I'm just getting like, okay, because you, again, due to conditioning, it was more like, let's get on it, we'll figure anything out, and all that sort of thing. So it's just even more of a you know, embodying the wisdom in the channel. This is what they're saying. So this relaxes your energy even more too. Okay, let's see what else. So something about some more books coming up. That's maybe the last message for today, but it's something about 3 books. I'm getting some kind of blue-green color on one of them. Not quite sure on the rest. It's too fuzzy to say for sure. But anyway, I mean, you know, these are possibilities. These are things that may or may not happen, but there's usually something to it. But there's 3 books. They feel like they're a set, maybe like a set of books. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, who knows? We'll see, but it almost feels like a volume 1, 2, and 3 sort of thing. I almost see like it could be put in one of those boxes, a set. So it's just what they're showing me. Again, there may be something to it, there may not be. I just share what comes through, and it finds its way into clarity at some point usually. Okay, anything else? You're doing great. Okay. I mean, we can go on and on, but I just like to share a few things. So, so anyway, I'm interested. I mean, some of the messages there are a little bit basic, but I'm just curious if any of that resonated for you or what came up for you.
Do you know that I wrote another book last year?
No, I'm not aware of what else you've done. So
Look at the color.
oh, there it is. Yeah. Maybe there's a couple more to come off of that. Who knows?
I know exactly. It's like a bluish green color.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's so funny. And it's so funny because Rebecca, my coworker, and we've talked about making this a series of doing Fit CEO, Zen CEO, and Fun CEO.
That's 3. Well, God is good. I'll say that. Right? Right. Wonderful. That is so fun. I just love it every single time. So
I love it. So I'll have to tell her after all that fun talk that we just had, I might have to tell her that Fun CEO might have to be the one that we write next.
Yeah, right. That's I would buy that in a heartbeat. Yeah,
Totally. It's like, how do you build an empire and lead your household and your company, you know, while still having fun and like remembering that like that is actually like the key, you know? So I love it.
Wow. Totally. Well, thank you for receiving that. If people want to check me out, you can go to yoursacredpurpose.com. And I still currently have the opportunity for you to apply. If you want to have fun, get in some of my downloads for you, an energy scan. There's a Rock Your Sacred Purpose energy scan possibility there for you. And there's also the Meditate and Make Money meditation, which I kind of alluded to earlier, that helps open up your energy, your chakras, and activates the energies, allows you to magnetize money and opportunities, but also gives you some mental clarity, of course, within those vibrations of like, what the heck wants to happen? Where do things want to go? What are the next joyful, beautiful next steps? So go to yoursacredpurpose.com to check all that out, take advantage of that. And wow, Lillian, this is just so great. You're just one of those guests. I feel like we just keep going forever. It'd be so awesome. Yet we got to start closing. So any last words that you have for our audience today?
I'll just end on the same note that, you know, I've been ending a lot of my other podcast interviews with, and that is, you know, it's in alignment with everything that we talked about like having fun and going into the basics and all that. And that is that you are ultimately where success comes from, right? Like you are the vessel in which all abundance and magic and money and success and love and joy and all that, like everything moves through you. And so when you are feeling, I know this sounds so basic, but like when you are feeling abundant on the inside, your life will manifest abundantly on the outside. When you are feeling fun on the inside, your life will manifest, you know, more things that are fun and exciting on the outside. And so, you know, take care of yourself first. Make sure that you are really taking care of your vessel at every layer, all 5 layers of the body. Know that you are where success comes from, and all the other things that you want, all the money, the magic and all that, that will all come as a side effect, and it will actually come with so much more ease, and who doesn't want that? So really take care of yourself first, because that's the shortcut. Like, you are the shortcut. How cool is that?
Yeah, bang, there we go. You are the shortcut. I love that. Some t-shirts or something on that one, right? Some bumper stickers or whatever. I don't know.
Shortcut here, yes.
Yoga mats. So okay.
Exactly.
All right. Well, it's so grateful to have you, Lillian. It's just absolutely amazing. So joyful, of course, and so wonderful. So thank you so much for being a guest today. And thank you for everyone listening in. And like I always say, keep on tuning in, and we'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Until the next time, everyone, goodbye for now. Listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.